because in her demonstration and what she does and how she tell other women how they need to do things, it will emulate, you know, and help things do them, you know.
Keep your eyes on past.
Yeah, and you got older women, you know, you know, people be laughing because my wife is just who she is. And that's why other people look at me and say, you know, you want to be married to me? I said, no, you don't, because you don't know who I am. That's the only one who's designed to be married to me. You can't deal with all that she got to deal with. That's why she act the way she act, because she got to deal with what she got to deal with. But one thing that First Lady would do for wives is just be real with them and let them know, you can't do that. you can't do that. You need to change that. And I think we need more First Ladies to get off of the First Lady high horse, calm down, and deal with some of these people who need to be dealt with. You know, and we need mothers who are not scared to be mothers. You know, who have been. See, you need mothers who have been released by their pastor to be mothers.
Yes.
Some mothers have not been released by their pastor to be mothers. You know, I'm not a mother, so hey, I ain't trying to do all that, because see, there's some things only a mother can say. That's one of the reasons why God impressed me to bring Mother L.L.W.C in, because there's some things only a mother can say that they're going to receive, and they're not going to receive from daddy. They're going to be like Olivia, daddy mean. But mama can say, no, daddy's just trying to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and can smooth things over for daddy. And that's the same way in church. First ladies and mothers can smooth things over for the pastor, where he got to say things a certain way and got to do it a certain way, and they be mad. They be like, no, baby, see, you got to understand that he's saying this way, he's doing that way. And that's what mothers and first ladies are there for. And so first ladies have to be released, not to be sitting on the thing looking good and waving like they the queen. And roll your sleeves up and get down there and do some work. You know, and then you got to release mothers and let mothers be mothers. Because mothers can tell people things. They can tell women about a skirt and they won't get offended. I tell them and they be like, they ain't coming for another 3 months. You know, and so some things I just need to leave the mothers, let them deal with, so that it can be a balance in the church. That's all you have.
I want to go back to Missionary 4, what she said, because I remember you telling me that story years ago too about what, you know, the bishop had did, and I always thought in my mind, well, how they gonna go home and clean up their house and cook and then come back to church? Because I wasn't coming back after you sent me home. But it made me think that that I want to make sure things are done before I leave. And when I come back or when you come home, we can do this, or we can plan accordingly. That, you know, it's easier for me because my husband, we in church together, but maybe not if we wasn't in church together. But it always had a vision in my mind that I know I had to keep my house in order. I had to make sure some things are just in order, because especially when I used to be at the church all the time back in New York, I was like, you know, I'm here all the time. I have to make sure this is done, make sure that, keep it in order. And it was from that story you told me, because it convicted me that I had to do some things in order. And then coming up today, I was talking to Sister Ford over here, and we was talking one day, and she was like, well, how do you do this? And just how do you do that? I said, girl, that's for the old folks back in the day. I said, we can't do that, cooking like that. And I said, you know, we was sharing different ideas of what we can do to make sure our house stay in order. You know, we was talking about, you know, cook the rice, get some meatballs, throw some gravy on it, you know, but how we can still do within our house, even though we're busy people and doing different things, but we have to learn and share. You know, you share from each other how to get ideas to keep your house in order. And you just, you know, like Sister Coleman, you know, girl, get it and freeze it. You know, you can take it out the freezer. You know, you can, but you don't learn those things unless you talk about it, unless you conversate about it, and let someone tell you. Because if I was to listen to some of the other mothers, I would think I have to cook a full course meal every day. Like Sister Crystal was saying, girl, I'm used to, we was going with 2 different meats on the table. I was like, why? She's like, now you'd be surprised to get 1 piece of meat on the table. You know? But that's being real, because you don't get taught that, because you think that you have to do it this way. But just like within church, whatever works for your house, you have to do what works for your house. You have to do what works for your church. And a lot of times we're not told that. We think we have to do it because sister trying to do it, or this person did it, but if that don't work for your
Mama
house,
did it.
yeah, or mama did it. Thank God my grandma didn't do it like that, but you know, we think that that's the way we gotta do it, and it don't work for our house. It can't work for us because we're not that person. You know, it can't work.
I think you said a key thing. A key thing is that it's not enough women talking with one another.
Yep.
You know,
Not enough women talking with one another because you got to get you got to get ideas from one another on how to do things. And every idea that you heard from women, you ain't gonna be able to use, but it's something that they gonna be able to say and say, hey, I can do it that way, because you don't know it all. Then some didn't have mothers in their lives to teach them the basics, you know. So church is not just a worship place, but it's a place to gather together and get ideas on how to do your house. If we come together and learn how to do our house, then the church is going to be better. But we're too busy trying to figure out who's going to be the president of the choir. I need to sit down and find out, okay, what you do to look like your husband happy and mine ain't happy right now. I need to know. You know, yours look like he happy and gaining weight and all that. What you doing? Because I'm having a problem trying to find. And there's nothing wrong with having that type of fellowship so that you can learn how to balance your house so that you are not offended against the church because you feel like the church is drawing all your time and you can't do nothing in your home. Because somebody got the secret to what you're going through. And God ain't giving to you in prayer because he already got somebody in the church you need to sit down and just talk to.
and you know, Pastor, not only that, but you know, it should be such a benefit being around. You talking about women. When women come together like that, sharing ideas, sharing inspiration, and when they come together, I mean, it's so much power, so much networking. When they disperse and go to their family, you will see an impact.
Right.
It's an add-on. It's an enhancement. So the husband will be like, man, you need to go get involved. Get on out of here. You know, it seems like it seems like when you with them sisters, man, you a whole lot better.
And see, that's the motivation there. What if that wife comes, that husband ain't saved, that wife comes back and doing her thing, he be like, baby, you go some more. You know, go to church. You ain't going to church tonight? What's wrong with you? Go ahead. You know, because, and that's how God designed it. The enemy has caused it the opposite way around. That husbands who are not saved and wives who are not saved are frustrated by them. Then they're leaving. Now even worse than that, we in the church saved and still frustrated that our spouses are at church. Ain't nothing better than being a child of God and you frustrated that your spouse at church and you supposed to be loving God and doing it, and you frustrated because you haven't got things in order at home. And because we ain't talking with one another to know how to do that thing, and then you trying to do all these things, and you talk to somebody and say, baby, you crazy. You can't do all that. You better do this, this, and this. And change that thing around, and your husband be happy, and you be happy. And then if he's happy and you're happy, you don't mind pushing your husband out there in the church, you don't mind pushing your wife out there in the church, go ahead and enjoy yourself. That's how God designed it to be. And if we can get more leadership to see that, then they won't have to worry about whether people are going to come out and do things. They come out and say, just for the fellowship. While I'm cleaning, there's fellowship. While I'm putting things together, there's fellowship. Hey, we're going out and get there clean because we're going to get some ideas tonight. It's not just the cleaning, but it's the conversation. You know, so you don't, it is how God designed it, so you don't have a lack of people wanting to do things because it has been an environment that's conducive to where they want to come and where they want to be. And where they want to learn, and where they want to grow. But it does take a leader who is not intimidated to release, because you got to be able to let them women just be women, and you don't got to be nowhere around.
And men be men.
And let the men be men, and sometimes you may be in the session, and sometimes you may not be. I'm going to be in the session because we just going to have a good time together. I ain't being in the session to teach. You can teach me. I don't got a problem. I'm just hang with y'all. You know. got a problem with that. I learned some ideas from y'all. I don't got a problem with that. But I believe that's how God designed it. That's how He wants it to be. That's how we're supposed to grow. That's why Paul talks about the older women teaching the younger women. But how can they teach if there's no fellowship?
Yes.
The reason why older mothers can't teach now because there's no fellowship with the younger ones. And for some reason there's a block there. And it's really up to the leader to remove the block. If he removes the block, they'll come together. Or if he never puts a block there, they'll be able to come together. Because daughters are going to congregate with mothers.
Yes.
As long as you don't put a wall there, they'll find each other. And they'll be able to give wisdom to each other. But it's when you put a wall there, or you put a muzzle on mothers, is when they can't give the wisdom to the daughters. And so you have to sometimes you just got to allow the church to grow. And if it grow wild, just go there and trim it. But if you don't allow it to grow, it's better to trim than not to grow at all. And I'd rather you go wild and I can come by behind you and trim it than me have to try to cultivate the ground to grow at all. So grow wild and let me trim you. Then there's growth, rather than not stifling the growth so nothing grows. You'll be better that way. You'll be better that way. The last thing I need to hit, it was a sign note God gave me. It was a sign note. And this is what we, in ministry, we really need to do this. And we hit on a little bit. God would address your fears and anxieties if you would be honest about them. A lot of times, especially when God is calling us to new elevations or new heights or new areas of ministry that we have not explored before, we have some anxiety. We have some fear. God usually calls us to do it before it's time to do it. Why? Because He knows we're fearful, and He knows we have anxieties. The reason why we're usually not prepared for it is because we don't be honest with Him about our anxieties and